Block 1. Codex Seraphinianus Unveiled. Imagine for a moment that you are holding a book. It's heavy, substantial, a tome that promises knowledge, history, or perhaps a grand story. You open it, and your world tilts on its axis. Before you are pages filled not with familiar words, but with an elegant, flowing script that seems to dance just beyond the edge of comprehension. It looks like language, it feels like language, but it communicates nothing you can grasp. Your eyes drift from the script to the illustrations, and the confusion deepens into a profound sense of wonder. Here, rendered with the meticulous precision of a 19th century naturalist, is a world that simply cannot be. You see a tree that uproots itself and migrates across a plain, a piece of fruit that peels itself to reveal a bizarre inner mechanism, and two lovers whose bodies slowly merge and transform into a single scaly crocodile. This is not a storybook. This is not a textbook. This is an artifact from another reality. This is the Codex Seraphinianus. This singular object, often hailed as the strangest book in the world, is the brainchild of one man, the Italian artist, architect, and designer Luigi Serafini. Born in Rome in 1949, Serafini is an artist who defies easy categorization, and his masterwork is a perfect reflection of his enigmatic persona. Over a period of about 30 months in the late 1970s, working in a small apartment in Rome, he single-handedly birthed this comprehensive encyclopedia of an imaginary world. He was the sole author, illustrator, and scribe. He created its unique biology, its impossible physics, its surreal sociology, and most importantly, its beautiful, impenetrable language. When the book was first unleashed upon the world in 1981 by the flamboyant and discerning publisher Franco Maria Ricci, it landed like a beautiful, unidentifiable object from outer space. Ricci was known for producing lavish, high-quality art books, and the Codex was his crown jewel, a massive 2-volume set printed on exquisite paper, a true collector's item from its very first day. The initial reaction was one of universal bewilderment and fascination. Critics, scholars, and artists were confronted with an object that resisted every conventional tool of analysis. It was an encyclopedia with no information, a text with no translation, a guide to a world that existed only in the labyrinthine corridors of Serafini's mind. The physical book itself is an integral part of the experience. It is not merely a container for images, it is a carefully constructed artistic object. Holding a copy, you feel its deliberate design. The pages have a weight and texture that recall ancient manuscripts. The illustrations are a riot of color, a psychedelic dream rendered with the steady hand of a scientific illustrator. Every page is a diptych of the familiar and the utterly alien. You might see a diagram of a humanoid figure, but its skeleton is made of springs and levers. You might see a detailed taxonomy of plants, but they grow into the shape of chairs or bleed strange rainbow-colored liquids. The script itself is the central nervous system of the book, weaving through and around these images, sometimes labeling them, sometimes forming dense blocks of text, giving the entire project an unshakable, albeit baffling, sense of internal logic. It uses a base 21 numbering system, features both uppercase and lowercase letters, and has a cursive looping quality that is both organic and precise. It is a masterpiece of pseudo-linguistics, a language that mimics the form of communication while denying its function. This immediate, visceral confrontation with the unknown is the Codex's first and most powerful magic trick. It instantly regresses the literate adult viewer into the state of a pre-literate child, looking at a book and understanding that there is meaning there, but having no access to it. You are forced to rely on the images alone, to let your imagination fill the void left by the unreadable text. This is not a book you read, it is a book you experience, a world you fall into. It doesn't offer answers, it swallows your questions and offers 1,000 more in their place. It is a singular statement in the history of art, a defiant monument to the power of pure, unadulterated imagination, and a puzzle box that, more than 40 years later, has yet to be opened. Block 2. Serafini's Enigmatic World. As we venture deeper past the cover, leaving the shores of our own reality behind, we immerse ourselves in the meticulously crafted chaos of Luigi Serafini's universe. The Codex is broadly structured like a terrestrial encyclopedia, divided into 11 chapters, which are themselves grouped into 2 main sections. The first section appears to deal with the natural world, flora, fauna, and the bizarre physics that govern this dimension. The second section seems to focus on the humanities, architecture, technology, and the various humanoid inhabitants and their strange customs. But these categories are merely loose suggestions, skeletal frameworks upon which Serafini hangs his surrealist visions. The chapter on flora, for example, doesn't just depict strange flowers. It shows us plants that metamorphose into fully formed chairs, ready to be harvested and sat upon. It details flowers that float away like balloons and strange bulbous fruits that, when struck, shatter to release swarms of smaller, living creatures. The botany of the Codex is a world of constant transformation, where the lines between the vegetable, animal, and even mineral kingdoms are not just blurred, but gleefully erased. Then comes the fauna. Serafini's bestiary is a parade of impossible creatures, each rendered with anatomical charts and behavioral diagrams that lend them a chilling plausibility. We encounter deer-like creatures with bodies made of a multitude of colored spheres, fish with eyes on long stalks that look like periscopes, and bizarre horse-like animals that eventually shed their skin to reveal a smaller wheeled creature within, like a biological Trojan horse. Perhaps the most famous and unsettling section is the one depicting the world's human-like inhabitants. Here, we see figures engaged in baffling rituals and undergoing shocking transformations. There are diagrams showing how a person's arm can be grafted with a fountain pen, and the aforementioned iconic image of 2 lovers embracing as their bodies slowly fuse and morph into a crocodile. This isn't just whimsical fantasy, it's a deeply unsettling exploration of biology, identity, and the very definition of what it means to be a living organism. The world of the Codex operates on a dream logic, where the scientific and the surreal are inseparable partners. The machines are no different, from cars coated in a thick layer of living moss to bizarre thread-making contraptions powered by a rainbow. At the heart of this entire experience, however, remains the great, unassailable mystery, the language. For decades, the world's most brilliant minds have thrown themselves at the Seraphinian script. Cryptographers from the NSA, linguists, and amateur sleuths have all tried to crack the code, and all have failed. While some very basic patterns have been identified, like the numbering system, which appears to be a variation of base 21, no actual meaning has ever been extracted from the text. The letters, the words, the sentences, they remain a perfect, unbreachable wall. And this is where we must confront the artist's intention. What has Luigi Serafini himself said about his creation? Very little, and what he has said is often playful and contradictory. He has suggested that the book is a product of asemic writing, which is a form of wordless, open semantic expression. It's writing that looks like writing, but has no inherent meaning, allowing the viewer to project their own interpretation onto it. He once claimed that a stray cat that joined him in his studio during the book's creation was telepathically transmitting the information to him from an alien dimension. In a 2009 talk at Oxford University, he explained that he wanted the book to recreate the feeling a child has when looking at a book they cannot yet read. They know the text is meaningful for adults, but for them, it is a purely imaginative experience based on the images. This suggests the point of the Codex is not to be decoded, but to be experienced in this state of pure, pre-literate wonder. The indecipherable text isn't a failure of communication, it's the communication. It's a statement about the limits of knowledge and the arrogance of assuming everything can be understood and categorized. The Codex challenges the very foundation of an encyclopedia, which is to organize and explain the world. Serafini's encyclopedia meticulously organizes and illustrates a world, but explains absolutely nothing, leaving the viewer in a state of perpetual curiosity. It is a profound artistic statement on the nature of language itself, a system we use to create meaning, but which can also be used to create a perfect, beautiful, and meaningful void. Block 3. Legacy in Modern Art. The mystery of the Codex Seraphinianus does not remain confined within its beautifully bound pages. Since its publication, it has seeped into the cultural consciousness, achieving a legendary cult status that few other single works of art can claim. It has become a sacred text for a certain kind of creative mind. The surrealists, the world builders, the conceptual artists, and anyone who finds beauty in the inexplicable. Its scarcity and high price in early editions only fueled the mystique, turning it into a sought-after treasure, a physical manifestation of a secret world that only a select few could access. But its influence extends far beyond mere collectability. The Codex has become a powerful source of inspiration, a creative catalyst that encourages artists to break free from the constraints of narrative and conventional meaning. You can see its DNA in the fantastical creature designs of video games, the speculative biology in science fiction novels, and the experimental typography of graphic designers. It gave creators permission to build worlds that didn't need to make sense, to invent languages that didn't need to be spoken, and to draw maps to places that don't exist. It champions the idea of art as an experience rather than a message. To truly understand its legacy, we must place the Codex within the broader landscape of modern art. It is clearly a descendant of the surrealist movement of the early 20th century, which sought to unlock the power of the unconscious mind through techniques like automatic drawing and the juxtaposition of irrational images. Like the works of Max Ernst or Yves Tanguy, Serafini's illustrations feel as though they have been dredged up from a collective dream state. However, the Codex is also a profound piece of conceptual art. In conceptual art, the idea or concept behind the work is more important than the finished physical object. The central concept of the Codex is its own indecipherability. The book is an elaborate, perfectly executed system designed to generate questions, not answers. It's a philosophical engine that forces the viewer to confront their own cognitive processes and their deep-seated need to categorize and understand everything they see. It makes us acutely aware of the act of interpretation itself. When you look at a page, your brain desperately tries to find patterns, to make connections, to invent stories to explain the bizarre imagery. The Codex is a mirror reflecting our own relentless search for meaning in a world that is often chaotic. Some have tried to categorize it as outsider art, but that label doesn't quite fit. Outsider artists are typically defined as being self-taught and disconnected from the established art world. Luigi Serafini, however, is a trained architect and a professional artist who was fully aware of the context in which he was creating. The Codex is not a naive, spontaneous creation. It is a highly sophisticated and self-aware project. It knowingly plays with the conventions of scientific illustration, linguistics, and book design. It is perhaps more accurate to see it as a bridge, a work that combines the meticulous craft of a classical master with the untamed visionary spirit of an outsider. It stands alongside other great enigmatic works, like the Voynich manuscript, a real 15th century illustrated codex also written in an undeciphered script. But while the Voynich manuscript is a historical mystery that may one day be solved, the Codex Seraphinianus is an artistic one, deliberately designed by its creator to remain a mystery forever. Its endurance, its power to captivate us more than 4 decades after its creation, lies in this fundamental truth. It is a closed loop, a perfect enigma. It doesn't age because it is not tied to any specific time, culture, or language. It is a timeless testament to the boundless potential of the human imagination, a reminder that the most exciting worlds are often the ones we can never fully understand. It is not a book to be read, but a universe to be wondered at.